Hello everyone, welcome to free crash course for competitive exams held by Virat Hindustan Sangam in association with Manifest IAS, Bengaluru. This program is inspired by Dr. Subramaniam Swamy and is convened by Ravi Shankar Sir, State Education Convener for VHS Karnataka branch. I am the chief mentor of your program. So I have the experience of mentoring competitive exam aspirants for past 5 years. So we are done with polity, history, economy and geography. So today I'll be winding up geography. I have done the world physical geography and India physical geography, and human geography is very easy. It's simple. So I've just touched upon the important topics and I'll be moving over to environment because environment constitutes the major chunk of your syllabus. So today I will be shifting the gears towards your environment section of the syllabus, right? Okay. So you can watch this program online on the YouTube channel of Virat Hindustan Sangam, and for any further queries, any guidance, you can contact us on our Telegram channel VHS Education Forum, right? So yesterday we were talking about the population, explosion of population in India. So we are a second most populous country as per the 2011 census. But if we conduct a census today, I think we would be emerging as the topmost populous country in the world, right? So how did we land here? So were we the topmost populous country throughout the history, or did we become populous after or in the 19th, 18th century or in the 20th century? So when we look at the population of India, there are 4 phases of population increase in India. So all these 4 phases starts from the 20th century, that is from 1901 onwards, how the population has increased in India. So this constitutes the 4 phases of the population in India. So the first phase starts from 1901 to 1921. The first phase of population 1901 to 1921. This phase is termed as a phase of stagnant population, or there was no much increase, or the population was stable, right? So there was very low growth of population, and during the phase of 1911 to 1921 there was a decrease in population as well. Decrease because First World War, many pandemics, all those, the Spanish flu happens in the year 1919. So just like COVID. So all these things decrease the population in this phase. So in this phase, why population growth is very less means, see, it doesn't mean the birth was decreased. Birth was always high. Birth rate was always high, but death rate was also high. More the births, more the deaths were there, and average life expectancy during the British period was around 27 years. So if you are born today, you can expect to live for approximately 27 years, that's all. But today the life expectancy has increased up to 70 years, right? So because of good health infrastructure, various education facilities, good water, hygiene, sanitation, all these things, good housing facilities, all these things, the hygiene has increased and the life expectancy has increased. So this constitutes the first phase. The second phase of population increase starts from 1921 until 1951. So this is the second phase of population increase in India. So this phase is there is a steady population growth. The population growth was steady, right? So that means during the first phase it was stagnant. During the second phase it steadily grew. That is, so there was a growth like this. If you take the map, there was a steady growth of population in India, right? Why? Because of there was increased health facilities. Health facilities increased. Because of increased health facility, the number of deaths decreased. So that is why population increased in a steady phase, and there was good food distribution also. Food distribution system was also good, right? And also during this phase, the number of births also increased. The number of birth rate, that is crude birth rate, also increased, right? So next, this is about the second phase of the population increase in India. The third phase comes the phase from 1951 until 1981. So this is a phase of population explosion. There was huge increase in the population in India, right? So everybody having 4 to 5 kids, and the population was exploded. There was a tremendous increase in India's population. Why this population increased? Because the fertility increased. Fertility means the number of children born to women increased, and also death rate also decreased. Death rate decreased because by this time British were out of India and we were under self-rule. The education facilities increased, health facility increased, there was lot of freedom, less stress, because of which the death rates decreased post-independence, right? So there was a growth rate of population approximately 2.2% of growth. Growth rate was 2.2%. So now it is 1.6%. At that time, we reached a rate of 2.2%. Why this high increase means? See, once the independence happened, once we got the independence, there was huge increase in the health facilities, and also there was job opportunities, political participation, because of which there was lot of positive things, because of which population increased. People were less worried, and so they focused on making more kids. So this not only this, during this phase we witnessed lot of international migration. International migration from where? From Pakistan. During partition we witnessed migration from Pakistan. We witnessed migration from Bangladesh. We witnessed migration from Nepal, Bhutan, and even Tibet. So because Tibet was taken over by China, the Dalai Lama and his followers, all of them came and settled in India. So because of all these reasons, there was a huge increase in the population, and also birth rate was also high. So this is the third phase. The fourth phase is from 1981 to present. 1981 to present. So now after 1981, that the population increase has decreased. So the population growth has decreased. There is a slowdown in the population increase. There is a why? Because the birth rate has been decreasing. So people are more and more educated. So most of the time they are either confined to 2 children or even 1 children. So that is why the population increase growth has been decreasing. Not only that, the women are getting married very late, and also the earlier childbearing used to start by year 14 or 15. Now childbearing goes up to 30 years. The first child they will get at around the age of 30. So because of all these reasons, and also increased education, increased employment for women, women empowerment, because of all these reasons, the population growth has decreased post 1981, and today the total fertility rate is around 2. Means what? The number of children born to a woman is 2, right? This is well below the replacement rate. What is replacement rate? So replacement rate is replacement rate mandated by the World Health Organization or the UN is 2.1. That is, if there are one parent, one male and female, they should produce 2 kids. So if these people die, these people will take over. So every 2 people will produce 2 people. So these 2 people will replace these people. So there will be a stable population, right? So this is a 2.1 replacement rate, but according to National Family Health Survey 2019 latest data, we are well below 2.1. So there is a decrease in population in India. So the trend is changing and we are moving towards decreased population. So this is all about the 4 phases of population growth in India, and we have to look up so we are talking about the population increase. So is the population increasing uniformly across India? Does every state having the same increase in the population. No, right? So we see this, for example, the South Indian states, Kerala, Karnataka, Tamil Nadu, Andhra Pradesh, we have very less population. I mean, the growth rate of population is very low. But when you take this Bihar states, Bihar, Madhya Pradesh, Rajasthan, Uttar Pradesh, Orissa, West Bengal, if you take these states, the population growth rate is very, very high. So there is a variation, regional variation with respect to population growth in India. There has been a regional variation. So this is about the regional variation. Next, we will talk about, see, when it comes to the population growth in India, there is one peculiar issue or one special issue, that is the growth of adolescents. So what is adolescents? Which population, from what age to what age constitute the adolescent population? So adolescent means from the age of 10 to 19. So if you belong to the age group 10 to 19, so you are called as adolescent. India has the highest population of adolescents. So 21% of Indians are adolescents. That is, they belong to the age 10 to 19. So is this a good sign? Yes, it is a good sign, because they are a young population, lot of potential, lot of energy, right? So if we channelize the energy properly of this young population, we can utilize it for the good growth of economy, good growth of the nation, political development, scientific development, economic development, technological development. All these areas we can use the young population. But if we don't use their energy properly, what will happen? They will do all unnecessary things. They might go into drugs, they might go into bad habits, right? So it is important that we channelize the adolescent energy in the proper direction. So with respect to, so that is why they say that India has the highest demographic dividend. Demographic dividend means what? The working population. So India has the highest working population. Working population from the age 15 to 64. India has the highest number of population in this age group. That is why India is called as an emerging market. Lot of demand, and also lot of productivity, because lot of people fall in this working age group, right? So with respect to adolescent, I was speaking about the adolescent, that is a youth population. What has the government done to channelize their energy properly? So we have this national youth policy. Youth policy is there. So it came in 2014. What does this national youth policy do? It tries to empower the youth of the country to achieve their full potential, economic potential, right? Employment potential, educational potential. So achieve all the potentials. So this policy aims to help the youth of the India. So what is the age group according to government who are qualified to be called as youth? It is from the age 15 to 29. Youth is called from 15 to 29. Adolescent 10 to 19, youth to 15 to 29. It might be asked in your exam which population qualifies to be called as a youth. Working population 15 to 64, right? Okay. So not only that, we have a national policy for skill development and entrepreneurship. So to target the youth population, the highest number of youth population in the world, that is in India, we have a national policy for skill development and entrepreneurship brought in 2015. Not only that, we have Skill India Mission, right? Not only that, we have also the Pradhan Mantri Kaushal Vikas Yojana. So we have all these programs to help the Indian youth to achieve their potential, right? Okay. So this is all about the adolescent population. Next, with respect to the population growth, we should talk about the Thomas Malthus we will talk about it later. I have to show you the demographic transition theory, that is very, very important. So what is the population composition? Composition of the population in India. So composition means what is the age group of the population? So are we having high youth population or high old population or high children population? What is the sex ratio of the population? How many males are there, females are there? So Where are these population residing? Are they residing in the urban area, rural area? What are this? What are their language? What is their religion? All these comes under the composition of the population. If you are studying the population, to study the characteristics of the population with respect to religion, language, age, sex, gender, education levels, this is with respect to the study of population composition. So, with respect to the composition of population, the first is place of residence, where our population is residing. So, are they residing in the rural areas more, or are they residing in the urban areas more? So, as per the 2011 census, it says that 69% of Indians reside in villages. So, only 31% of Indians reside in the urban areas, but now it has reached up to 40%. So, what I am saying, the data is from 2011 census, but now it has reached up to 40%, right? So, how many villages are there in India? They say up to 6.5 lakh villages are there, where 69% of our population is residing. So, where this rural population is high? So, rural population, you will find high percentage of rural population in the state of Bihar and Sikkim. But when it comes to South Indian states, especially Maharashtra and other regions, you will find very less rural population. So, there is more, urban population is more. So, the urban areas, so that is why the urban areas in the South Indian states, they are growing faster. There is a huge growth of the urban population. Why urban population is growing? Because there are a lot of facilities, health, education, industry, transport, right? All these facilities, employment opportunity. That is why urban population is increasing. This is with respect to rural urban composition. Then we have the concept of linguistic composition. So, what languages do Indians speak? So, Grierson, there is one person called Grierson. He says, he has conducted a linguistic survey more than around 100 years back. He says that India has 179 languages, 179 languages in total, and 544 dialects. Dialects means what? Upabhashe. So, in Kannada we have Mangalore Kannada, we have Dharwad Kannada, we have Mysore Kannada, we have also Bidar Kannada, right? So, these are the dialects. So, they say that 544 dialects and 179 languages in India. How many scheduled languages are there? In India, 22 scheduled languages. How many languages are printed on the note, banknote? Huh? So, please check out. So, we have which is the highest spoken language in India? It is Hindi. Which is the least spoken language? Sanskrit. Sanskrit is the least spoken language, right? So, they classify the languages in India into four families. So, density of population, yesterday we discussed, this is the map. See, these areas are more dense, and this is growth of population. Here you find more growth, these areas. So, here you have less growth. So, this is the growth of population map. Yeah. So, there are four major families of languages in India. So, the first family is Austric family. Austric family, it has got two sub-families. Family means grouping of languages, right? South Indian language, Aryan languages. South Indian languages are called Dravidian languages, right? So, you have, see, Dravidian language is there. Indo-European. Indo-European language is Aryan language. Hindi belongs to that, Sanskrit, Hindi. Sino-Tibetan. Sino-Tibetan is from the Chinese side languages. And you have Austric language. So, this is actually a kind of tribal language, Austric language, right? Austro-Protoloid, it is called. So, you have Austro-Asiatic and subfamily, that is division, Austronesian, and Sino-Tibetan, you have Tibetan, Myanmari, Siamese Chinese language, Indo-Aryan language is there. So, there are many groups. Where are these languages spoken? Indo-Austro-Asiatic. It is spoken in Meghalaya and Nicobar, and this Austric language is also spoken in West Bengal, Bihar, Orissa, and this region, right? Dravidian languages, it is divided into three groups: South Dravidian, Central Dravidian, and Northern Dravidian. South Dravidian, Tamil Nadu, Kerala, Karnataka. Central Dravidian, Andhra Pradesh, Madhya Pradesh, Orissa, Maharashtra. Northern Dravidian, Bihar, Orissa, West Bengal, Madhya Pradesh. So the peculiar character of Dravidian language is this Northern Dravidian. In that Northern Dravidian, there is one language called Brahuhi. So this language is even spoken in Pakistan, right? The Northern Dravidian language. They say that Dravidians are the natives of India. They are the original Indians, right? So later on, Aryans invaded and conquered the northern India and pushed the Dravidians towards the South India, right? So then you have Tibeto-Myanmari in Chinese. Where is this spoken? Jammu and Kashmir, Himachal Pradesh, Sikkim, Arunachal Pradesh, all the northeastern states and the Himalayan states, this Sino-Tibetan is spoken. Then you have the Indo-Aryan. So this is having three subgroups, Iranian, Dardik, Indo-Aryan. So this is spoken in the major part of India because it includes Hindi and all those languages, dialects of Hindi. So these are the four major families of languages in India. Next, we will talk about the most interesting and most important concept, the religious composition. So what religions do we have in India? So who are the major population? It is the Hindus. Hindus compose 79.8% as per the 2011 census. And Muslims compose the 14.2%, Christians 2.3, Sikhs 1.7, Buddhists 0.7 and Jains 0.4%, right? 0.4% of the population. So Muslims are the largest minority. Where do you find them? So there you find the highest population of Muslims in Jammu and Kashmir, Kerala, Lakshadweep and also West Bengal, right? Otherwise, you find the highest number of Hindus everywhere, right? Christians. So Christians, the highest number of Christians, where do you find it? They are found in the rural areas. So you will be amazed that most number of Christians reside in rural areas, not in the urban areas as per the 2011 census. So which are the states where do you find Christians? You will find them in the Goa, Kerala, Northeast states. And Jains and Buddhists, they are the smallest group. Where do you find them? You will find them in the Rajasthan, Gujarat, Maharashtra region because they are majorly traders, always involved in the money market, right? Okay, then this is about the religious composition of India. So this is not very important, just a broad idea if you have, that is more than sufficient. Next, we will talk about the composition of working population. How many, if there are 100 Indians, how many of them are working, right? So we categorize the workers in India into two groups. One is main workers, second is marginal workers. So three groups actually, workers and non-workers. Workers and non-workers. Workers, you divide them into main workers and marginal workers. So who are main workers? So if a person works for more than 6 months, more than 183 days, he is called as main worker. If a person works for less than 183 days or less than 6 months, he is called as marginal worker. And non-workers, those who are roaming around, not doing anything, right? So we have, out of 100 people, we have 40% of Indians are working population, 40%, and 60% are non-working. So they are dependent population who are not working. So one is the old age population who are not working. Then there is the young population, that is below 18 years, who are in education and all those things. And also those people who are just roaming around, not doing any work. So also they might be searching for work. They are also non-workers. They are dependent population. So where there is low level of economic development. So where is the low level of economic development in India? You will find it in Gujarat, UP, Orissa, those regions. There, see, where economic development is less, there you find high worker population because all of them are getting very less wages. So more the number of people will work where economic development is less. But where South India you have more economic development. So one person earns, entire family sits and eats. So less number of worker population here, right? So primary sector is the agricultural sector, has the highest number of worker population. You have up to 55% of the working population engaged in the primary sector, right? That is agriculture and allied services, that might be mining, all those areas. 55% is in primary sector. I have already told you what is primary sector. So coming to the gender composition of the workers, male workers are more compared to the female workers, right? Male workers constitute more number of workers. So primary workers, I told 55%. Secondary workers, secondary sectors, secondary sector, manufacturing, construction, all those areas, 4% of working population. And tertiary sector, that is your service sector. How many population? How many percent? 42% of the working population, right? So now we are finding a shift from farm sector employment to non-farm employment. So people are moving from agriculture to other areas, service sector and industry areas, and also they are moving towards the cities and cities, that is urban areas, right? Okay. So next we will talk about the working population. So working population, we are talking about the working population. You can classify the working population into 4 categories, right? So the first category is cultivators. Cultivators, those who are owning a land and doing agriculture. Second category is agricultural laborers, who are working in the field of other people for wages. They are agricultural laborers. Third category is household industrial workers. Industrial workers form the third category of workers. 4 categories other workers. So totally there are 4 category of workers we can classify in India, right? This is all about the workers. So the last concept of this chapter, we will talk about the gender. So gender, with respect to India, we have traditionally been a patriarchal country. We have oppressed women since the Vedic ages. So earlier Vedic ages, women had the equal rights, but later Vedic ages, because of various restrictions, women position decreased, and we followed so many unholy practices like female infanticide, sati system, all this dowry, all these things, right? So the gender development. So with respect to gender, if we have to measure the development of women, we have one index called Gender Development Index. In Gender Development Index, India is scoring around 96th rank, which is better than the neighboring countries, that is Pakistan, Bangladesh, Nepal, all these countries, right? So now women are having more and more opportunities in healthcare. They are getting good healthcare, they are getting good education. You have many schemes for their Matru Vandana Yojana, Janani Suraksha Yojana, Poshan Abhiyan. So there are many schemes to protect the women, education and employment also. We have this one more Yojana, Sukanya Samruddhi Yojana, Beti Bachao, Beti Padhao, right? So many schemes are there to empower the women, right? So that is why you will find more number of women are increasing in the workforce. They are also, you have this Maternity Benefit Act. So they get 24 months of holiday when they undergo pregnancy. 24 months or 18 months? 24 months, right? How many months? 24 weeks, sorry. So 24 weeks. So they get that much holiday once they reproduce. So that because of all these things, there is increase in the worker population, right? So this is all about the working population and other things. Now we will talk about the migration pattern in India. So what is migration? Migration is moving from one place to other place. Why migration is important? See, India is a land of migrants, right? So if we look at the human history in India, that is anthropological history of India. First we look at the anthropological history of the world itself. They say that first man migrated out of Africa, right? But later researchers say that Dravidians are the original inhabitants of India, right? Aryans came later. So they say that India is a land of migrants. So you name the people. So we have people from Africa, we have people from Arabia, we have people from Europe, we have people from Siberia, we have people from China, Australia. So India is a land of migrants. Every person comes and gets settled in India throughout the ages. That is why there is one poet called Firake Gorapuri. He says that, Sir, Zameen Hind, Avam e Alam ke Firake, caravan baste gayi, Hindustan barta gaya. So, what does it mean? Don't bother. He says that India, from all over the world, people start coming and settling in India. Caravans of people came and they settled in India. So that is what this poet means, Firake Gorapuri. So why is migration important? It is important for the redistribution of population. So generally, population is concentrated in one area or the other. So in order to redistribute the population across the across space and across time, so migration is important. So not only has India been a land of migration, from India also many people have went outside. So we find Indians all over the world. So 20 million Indians, diaspora, 2 crore Indians are there across the world. So you go to any country, you will find Indians, right? So Indian diaspora is the highest diaspora in the world. That is, diaspora means what? So people residing outside the country, either permanently or temporarily, either for education, employment, or they might have taken the citizenship of that country. So when you look at the diaspora, Indian diaspora is the highest number, right? Across the world, no other country has so much diaspora as India, right? So with respect to Indian diaspora, when did this all start? First, it started during the British time. British took the laborers to other countries to work in the plantations. They are called indentured laborers. So if you look at the world history, you have this, Indian history. So Mahatma Gandhi ji goes to South Africa. He fights for the rights of the indentured laborers, the Indian laborers in South Africa, right? So Indian laborers are found in Mauritius, South Africa, Caribbean, also Fiji, all these places you have laborers, Indian laborers, right? So British also took the Indian laborers, Portuguese took them, Dutch took them, French also took them to various countries to work in plantations and other areas, right? So that time they had an act called Girmit Act. So Indian Immigration Act means what? They used to enter into a contract. So if you are an Indian, if you want to go and work in some other country, so you will enter into a contract with the person you are working for, right? So you will enter a contract, then you will go to some other country to work for that particular person with whom you have signed the contract. That contract is called Girmit Act. So this is important. Girmit Act, they will ask, what is Girmit Act? So that is the first wave. During the colonial times, we have the first wave of migration, second wave of migration. So we find this second wave during the 1970s, 1960s. So second wave only we have artisans, professionals, all these people started migrating. So second wave, where do we find? Indians went to Thailand, Singapore, Malaysia, neighboring countries. So that is the second wave. Not only that, so in the 1970s, there was oil boom. Where was oil boom? In the Gulf countries. So because of which Indians went and settled there in the Gulf countries, right? So in the West Asia, that is the second wave. Then you have the third wave of migration. In third wave of migration, so this is 1980s. So even today we have the third wave of migration. Doctors, engineers, especially software engineers, they started going and settling in USA, Canada, Europe, all these countries, right? So this is in the 1980s, 1990s, you will find one phenomena called education-based immigration. People started migrating for the purpose of education in the 1990s. Even today, so most of my friends, so we were around 65 people in our class, out of which 45 people are in other countries, because we studied in computer science, so they found very good opportunities outside the country, right? So that is the education or employment based immigration since 1990s, right? So this is about the immigration from India, right? So next we will talk how does the migration is measured. So this migration, totally it has got two types of migration: internal migration, that is within the country, and external migration, that is outside the country, right? So migration is measured or calculated or it is enumerated. So the right word for migration, measuring the migration, is called enumeration. So this has been measured or enumerated by the census, that is decadal census, right? They calculate the or enumerate the migration. So since 1881, when the first census took place, so earlier they were measuring only migration based on place of birth. That is, if you are settling in Bangalore, but suppose you have come from Bihar, so they will come to your house and they will ask your place of birth. Earlier they were asking only for place of birth to measure the migration. Later on they started asking along with place of birth, if you are residing at a particular place, how long you have been residing. So when the census people come to your house, they will ask, if you are in a particular place, how long you are residing in this particular place, right? And also, where were you residing before that, place of last residence, and also reason of migration, why have you migrated to this place. So all these data they will collect now in order to measure the migration. So when it comes to migration, there are two types of migration. One is lifetime migration. Lifetime migration. What is lifetime migration? So if your place of birth is different from your place of enumeration, that is, you are born in Bihar and your enumeration is taking place in Bangalore, right? So that is the lifetime migrant. You qualify to be a lifetime migrant. So how many people are there? With respect to lifetime migrant, 30% of Indians are lifetime migrants. Then there is one more type of migration, migration by place of last residence. So from the last place where you are settling, which is not your place of birth, suppose you are from Bihar, earlier you were settling in Mumbai, now you have come to Bangalore. So that when you come from Mumbai to Bangalore, then you are called as migration by place of last residence. From last residence, why you have migrated to this place. So 31% of Indians qualified to be called as migrants by place of last residence, right? Okay, so this is all about the measurement of migration or enumeration of migration conducted by the census, right? Okay, so then we will talk about the streams of migration. Streams. So streams of migration, Andre, from where do you find the migration happening in India? I'll show you in the map. So see, majorly the migration you will find from this area. So from Bihar, UP and this area you will find migration to Maharashtra, South India, Delhi, Haryana, all this area. So this acts as a source region, this acts as a destination region. You will also find to Gujarat. So this is the stream of migration. In what stream migrants are moving. So internal migration. So under stream of migration there are two categories. One is internal migration and other is international migration. Under internal migration you have interstate migration and intrastate migration. What is interstate migration? Moving from one state to another state. Intrastate means moving within the state, moving within the boundary of the state. So internal migration, you have four types of migration within internal migration: rural to rural migration, rural to urban migration, urban to urban migration, and urban to rural migration. Understood? Very simple concept. Then you have the intrastate migration. So intrastate, from state to state. So in intrastate migration, and one more is interstate. Intrastate is within the state. So within the state you will find female constitute the highest number of migrants in the intrastate migration. Why females migrate? So because of marriage. So they are in one place, they will be married to some other person in some other place. So intrastate, within the state, so females are the highest population of migration. Then interstate migration. Interstate migration, you will find rural to rural migration and rural to urban migration. See, rural to rural migration, you will find women are more from one rural area to another rural area. Why? The same reason, marriage. Rural to urban migration, men are the highest numbers. Why? Reason, employment, education opportunities, right? So this is about the internal migration. Then we will talk about the international migration. So with respect to international migration, we will talk about, there are two concepts, immigration and emigration. Immigration is coming into India, emigration is going out of India. With respect to immigration, we have 96% of immigrants coming from neighboring countries. So 96% of people who have come to India, they have come from neighboring countries, that is Sri Lanka, Bangladesh, Bhutan, Nepal, your Pakistan, all these countries. So most of the Bangladeshis are illegal migrants. You will find them everywhere in India, illegal migrants, right? So should we support the illegal migrants? No, they have to be sent back, because we ourselves don't have enough resources. We don't have employment, we don't have education facilities. How can we take more migrants, right? So if they want, they can come through legal means, not through illegal means, right? So immigration, I told you already, you find Indians across more than 110 countries around the world. So there are 20 million Indians outside India, right? There are 20 million, how much? 2 crore Indians outside India. So that is why the government is now tapping into NRI voting, or people receive. So NRIs are Indians or other citizens of other country. NRIs are Indian citizens, right? OCI are not Indians. They are citizens of other countries, but they are of people of Indian origin, right? So you can trace their origin to India, but they have acquired the citizenship of other country. So government now wants to give rights of voting to NRIs, because it will increase the voting percentage. See, these NRIs are the most politically active people, because they are educated, they are employed, right? They have a lot of information on the international politics and the political arena of India, right? So should we give voting rights to NRIs? Yes, we should give. It will increase the voting percentage. Why? Because the voting percentage is around 60%. If we give the voting power to them, it will go up to 70-80%, which is a good number, right? So next, we will talk about the spatial variation. Spatial variation, I have already told. The destination region. Destination region is Maharashtra, Delhi, Gujarat and Haryana are the destination region. Source region is UP, Bihar and West Bengal, right? Okay. So with respect to cities, which city receives the highest migrants? Is it Delhi? No, it is Mumbai. Mumbai receives the highest migrants. So why migration is taking place? There are two reasons. One is push factor, another is pull factor. What are the push factors? So suppose a person is moving from a rural area to urban area. So what is pushing him to come to urban area? So the push factors. So push factors means there might be something wrong in the rural area. That is why that person wants to come to urban area, right? So in rural areas you find lot of poverty, right? There is no education facility, there is no infrastructure, there is no health facilities, there is no employment opportunities, right? And also more people are working in the agricultural field, because of which the pressure on the agricultural land is high. So that is why all these factors push the people out of the rural areas and attract them towards urban areas. So when it comes to urban areas, there are a lot of pull factors. Pull factor is urban areas are pulling the migrants. Why? Because it provides good opportunity, good work, good wages, good facilities, education, health, everything. That is why it is pulling, right? So with respect to migration, 65% of females. So if there are 100 females migrate, 65% of them migrate because of marriage. Whereas 38% of, if 100 males migrate, 38% of them migrate because of employment and work opportunities, right? So what are the consequences of migration? Migration in the ಏನಾಗುತ್ತೆ, right? What are the consequences? So there are multiple consequences. See, there are consequences on the source area, there are consequences on the destination area. Source area, that is rural villages. So if everybody migrates from the villages, what happens? There is no workforce, right? there won't be people in the villages, right? There won't be workforce, and also there are a lot of disadvantages. So what are the consequences? We will divide it into economic, social, demographic consequence. So economic consequence. So if there is migration, what happens if a person comes from rural to urban area? It is actually advantageous for the rural area only. Why? Because this person earns money in urban area and sends it back to rural area. Rural area receives lot of money, right? Remittances. For remittances, the rural areas receive. So that is one advantage. Then one more economic consequence is, see, during the Green Revolution, Green Revolution, which area? Punjab, Haryana and Western Uttar Pradesh. There was lot of migration from UP, Bihar to these areas, right? So because there was lot of work opportunities. So that is also economic consequence. Not only that, you have the one more bad economic consequences. Because of migration, there is increasing number of slums, overpopulation, right? Slums will increase. That is also a economic consequence. Next, we will talk about the demographic consequence. Demographic means the human resource consequence. So this migration leads to redistribution of population, redistribution from rural to urban areas, right? So when it comes to demography means people who are in the working age. So if all the working age population moves out of the villages, it is actually disadvantageous for the villages. It won't lead to growth of the village, right? So that is one demographic disadvantage. Now one more demographic disadvantage is, see, if all the male people and all the young people migrate to urban areas, so you will find only old people in the rural areas. There won't be anybody to take care of them, right? That is one disadvantage. If all the male people migrate, you will find only women in the rural areas. That is also, it will lead to imbalanced sex ratio. That is also one of the disadvantage. So what are the social consequences of migration, right? Social consequence. So these migrants, they bring social change, right? So Bangalore, you have so many migrants from across the India, right? So they act as a agents of social change. They bring in social change. They demand more rights, right? They undertake cleanliness activities. They demand more facilities from the government, right? So they are more advanced in education and also in various in thought process. They are not conservatives, right? So that is why you find in this migrant people, they are not very strict about the restrictions on women. They allow the women to work late night. They allow the women to get educated. So there are a lot of liberty, social changes taking place. So these migrants bring in new ideas, they bring in new technology and other things, right? So they are high skilled people, they bring lot of good things, right? Not only that, migrants lead to intermixing of cultures. So in cities, you don't find any discrimination between the SCs, STs, Hindus, Muslims, all this, because all the cultures have intermixed. There is no discrimination or as such, because city people are more broad minded, right? They don't think more about religion, caste and all those things. But one negative is, if you are in a city, you don't know who is sitting, who is there in the next house. So it is anonymity. So you don't find any social support. Suppose you are in depression or any mental health or any financial issue, if you are in a village, there will be grandmother and grandfather, they will comfort you. They will give you social support. But in a city, who will give you social support? Nobody, right? So next, environmental consequences of migration. It leads to overcrowding, building of slums, poor sanitation, poor drainage and unplanned growth, traffic, pollution, all these things are the environmental consequences, right? Groundwater also gets overexploited. All these are the environmental consequences. So what are the other consequences? See, if all the migrants come to urban areas, in rural areas, women will be left behind, right? They have to take care of the entire family. So it will increase the burden on women. Will increase the burden of women. So see this, only males migrating to cities. It is called male selective migration. Male selective migration, right? So this is all about the concept of migration. Next, we will talk about human development. Human development. See, with respect to migration, intrastate migration, that is within the state. See, rural to rural, you find women migrating more. Why? Because of marriage, I told you. Whereas in interstate migration, that is from state to state, you will find a rural to urban more, male population more, because they find lot of work opportunities. This is the graph. Next, we will talk about the human development. What is human development? Development of human is human. No, developing human in education, skills, health facilities, opportunities, right? Employment opportunities. All these things is human development, right? The development that is 360-degree development, right? So physical development, psychological development, financial development, social development. All these things contribute to the human development. So in India, we have a peculiar situation. We have existence of development as well as underdevelopment. So development, generally they talk about, it is about the economic development, that is increasing income. So when you talk about India, there are very few people who are rich, and there are a lot of people who are poor. And you find very few regions which are rich, and lot of other regions are poor. So there is a existence of development and underdevelopment both in India, right? So with respect to development, what are the indicators of development? So suppose you have good infrastructure, good health facilities, good education facilities, good transport facilities, right? Good income, good employment opportunities, right? All these are the indicators of development. So this is actually a wrong view. If you qualify the development based on only these things, it is a very wrong view. It is called a European centric model, that is English model of development. Whereas India, we need a different model of development, right? Because see, India needs a different model. Why? Because we have suffered a lot. See, India has a peculiar situation. Why? Because we have suffered discrimination at the hands of British, right? British had exploited us. Not only that, our development will be different because we have this patriarchal notion, that is males were given preference more than females throughout the history. Not only that, we have social situation, we have oppressed our SC/ST population. So development in India should be a different kind of model, because if we take just money as the indicator of development, it is a one-sided view. It is not the correct view of development, right? So in India, development is a mixed bag. Mixed bag andre you find development in the urban areas and very few rich people, whereas rural areas there is no development, and also poor people are not developing, right? Not only that, in India, development is taking place at the cost of environment. So we are exploiting the environmental resources and developing, right? So this is called as tragedy of commons. So tragedy of commons, they will ask you directly in the exam, what is it? It means developing at the cost of environment. You exploit the environment and develop. That is the tragedy of commons, right? So with respect to development in India, the poor people do not have any capacity to develop. So they are having lot of problems. They don't have social capability. Social capability andre, they don't have education, health, they don't have employment opportunity, right? So they are maybe they belong to lower caste. They don't have any assets. So social capability is not there. Then personal capability is also not there, because their health is not good, their education is not good. So because of which poor find it very difficult to develop in India, right? So the present development model, the what we are developing, that is based on GDP. It is not, I discussed this in economy also, the present development model is not addressing the issues that are bothering India. What are the issues? Poverty, literacy, all these issues. It is this present model is not developing, helping us. Rather, it is increasing the inequality. Rich people are becoming rich, poor people are becoming more and more poor, right? Okay, so with respect to development, what is the measure of development? So we measure the development, there is one report, one indicator of development called Human Development Report. Which organization gives this report? It is UNDP, United Nations Development Program. They are going to ask this report. It's very, very important. What is the rank of India in Human Development Index? It is 131, right? Human Development Report started, published by the UN Development Program since 1990. So it says that, so what are the three indicators based on the based on which Human Development Index is calculated? One is life expectancy is birth, second is per capita income, third is the adult literacy level and gross enrollment ratio, right? Three indicators: Human Development Index, life expectancy first, second is education, gross enrollment, how many people are enrolling to school, gross enrollment, and adult literacy, third is per capita income. So these are the three indicators based on which Human Development Index is calculated, right? So this Human Development Index report says that development should be around the people, not people around the development. What is that? Not important, forget it. So development should be, this report says that there should be progressive democratization and people should be empowered. Progressive democratization andre there should be more and more voice for the people in order to increase the development. So this report defines human development. What is human development andre? Enlarging the range of people choices, choice of the people. If you give more choices to the people, more choices of education, health, right, politics, employment, so that will lead to more human development. So human development meaning by Human Development Report is enlarging the range of people choices. That is the first definition. And opportunity for education, healthcare, income. Opportunity for education, healthcare, and income. So if you enlarge the choice of people, if you enable them to choose more and more things, and if you give more opportunity for education, healthcare, and income, so then the population is said to be developed, or it is a developed population. Also, if you empower the population, if you give them human rights, that will also lead to human development. So what is the situation of, so this is the meaning of human development. What is the situation of human development in India? So India rank is 131. So what is the score of India? India's score is 0.625. 0.625 is the score. India falls in the medium category of development, medium human development category. 131 is our rank, which is the first country ranking first in human development. It is Norway. Norway has a score of 0.95, right? Highest human development, right? But is this index correct? Many people say that this index itself is wrong, because India has lot of issues since ancient times. So we cannot, this index cannot be taken as the right index, some people say, but I don't know how much we can agree with that, right? So not only this is a world index, not only that, we have a national human development index, that is ranking the states. So various states of India based on human development. So this is National Human Development Index. It is published by the Planning Commission. Not only that, we have one more index, State Human Development Index, released by various states. So what are the districts? What are the districts that are developed? What are underdeveloped? That is measured by the State Human Development Index, right? So with respect to National Human Development Index, it measures the development based on economic attainment. So which states are economically powerful, right? That is what this National Human Development Index measures. So it says that if we give access to resources for all the population. So National Human Development Index, it has multiple factors based on which Human Development Index is measured. What are the factors, Andre? First factor is access to resources by all. If we provide resources to all the population, and if we increase the per capita income or gross national product, and if we provide the employment opportunity, then we are said to be the Human Development Index, National Human Development Index will be high. So, but with respect to economic indicators, there are many problems also. What are the problems? You see, 22% of Indians, so right now it is 25%. 25% of Indians are below poverty line. So they are poor, right? When it comes to Bimaru states, more than 30% of population is poor, below poverty line, right? So with respect to economic indicator of Human Development Index, that is the income indicator, GDP, they calculate it based on GDP, state GDP, but some say GDP alone is not the right indicator. We have to develop some other indicator, right? Okay. So with respect to Human Development Index, Kerala is ranking the highest because Kerala has good social, economic and other education and other indicators, the good rank in those indicators. But Bimaru states are ranking less. That is Bihar, Madhya Pradesh, Rajasthan, Uttar Pradesh, Orissa, West Bengal, they rank less, right? Okay. So this is about the economic indicator of Human Development Index. Then is health indicator of Human Development Index. Here it is what? Life expectancy. So health indicator, so it measures the number of people with illness. What is the IMR? IMR andre infant mortality rate. What is the life expectancy? What is MMR? And also sanitation, clean water, all these things, this health indicator of the Human Development Index measures. Then you have literacy indicator, literacy level. See, literacy level we are measuring. So with respect to National Human Development Index, literacy indicator. So what is the literacy rate of India? 74%. 74% Indians are literate. Female literacy, 65% of Indian females are literate. So which is the state having highest literacy? Kerala, 92%, right? So that also we are measuring. Not only that, death rate, life expectancy, everything will be measured in order to arrive at the National Human Development Index. So with respect to death rate, we have reduced the death rate. Earlier it was 25 per thousand, now it is 6.5 per thousand. We have reduced the IMR also. Earlier it was 148, now it is 37. Around 37, now it has come down to 25. 2011 census it was 37, now it has come down up to 25. Birth rate also we have reduced. Earlier it was 40%, now it is 20%. Birth rate also we have reduced. So, but one bad thing is child sex ratio is decreasing. Child sex ratio. So, that is the number of women per 1000 men. It is, sorry, sex ratio is number of women per 1,000 men, right? That is decreasing. And also child sex ratio is also decreasing. That is number of girl child born compared to boy child, right? That is also decreasing. There are some states like Haryana and Punjab where it is less than 850, which is a very bad sign. So if 1,000 boys are born, they should be equally 1,000 girls should be born, but it is less, right? It is very comparatively very less, which is a bad sign, right? So this is about the health indicators of Human Development Index within India. Then you have social development indicators. Social development indicators yavadu literacy, poverty, hunger, all those things. So with respect to social development indicators, southern states, South Indian states are performing good, right? So not only that, the upper caste, so this is with respect to regional, but if you take sectionally some SC, ST population, all those population actually who have been oppressed, they are also doing good now because of reservation and all those policies, right? So next, the last topic of the chapter is population, environment and development, right? So under this we have to speak about the Malthusian theory. So this theory was given by Robert Malthus. He says that with the increase of population, if you increase the population, the pressure on the resources will increase. So more the number of population, more pressure on the resources. That is what is given by the Robert Malthus. Malthusian theory of population is very, very important. There is one particular section called Neo-Malthusians. Neo-Malthusians are actually followers of Malthus, but some modification they have said. See, there should be a balance between population and environment resources. If resources ಎಷ್ಟಿದೆ ಅಷ್ಟೇ ಇರಬೇಕು population, but if population increases, resources remain same, there will be lot of stress on the resources. This is what the Neo-Malthusian say. So they say that since 18th century, the pressure on the resources because of industrial revolution and also increasing population, there has been huge demand for the resources, because of which the stress is high, right? Not with respect to this, they say that rich countries have access to more resources. They get more resources. Poor countries have very less resources, right? Even COVID vaccine, all the vaccines were cornered by the rich countries, right? Poor countries, they did not have any vaccines, right? Okay. So with respect to population and growth, there are multiple views. One is Gandhian view. Gandhi says that the growth should not be at the cost of environment. So Gandhi's famous word, what does it say? Nature will satisfy our need, not our greed, right? That is the Gandhian view of growth. Then you have one more report called Limits of Growth Report. Limits of Growth Report. The development what we are pursuing, it is not right. That is said by the Limits of Growth Report. This report name is important. It was published in 1972. Limits of Growth Report. Then you have Schumacher Report. Schumacher Report. Small is beautiful. This report was published in 1974. This report is also very, very important. The most important of all this is Brundtland Commission Report. Brundtland Commission Report published in 1987. This also speaks about development and human development and also economic development. It says that the report name is Our Common Future. Our Common Future is the report name. Then you have Agenda 21 report. In 1993, there is one report called Agenda 21 report, Rio Conference, Rio de Janeiro Conference. This also speaks about the development and human population. So this is the, I am going to wind up the world India human geography here, because human geography, it is actually a very plain subject. You can study that on yourself, because it's a what is the point in just telling the migration, population? So as soon as you read it, it is you will study it. So if at all we find time at the end of the classes, we will do the human geography again. But the most important now is your environment. So I am going to
shift the gaze towards your environment topic. From today, from now, we will be starting the environmental section of your syllabus, right? So first is the first chapter under your environment is ecology. So what is ecology? What does the term? So we are beginning with environment. So the source for for geography, your sources are class 11 and class 12 NCERT. 4 books are there. Along with that, your one map, atlas. This is the source for your Indian geography, right? Whereas when it comes to environment, if you are studying environment, the book is Environment, Indian Environment by Shankar IAS or PMF IAS. Environment book by PMF IAS is good. So this is the sources for your environment. I will be teaching your environment from this book, Shankar IAS. Okay. The first chapter is ecology. So what is ecology? What is the meaning of ecology? So the word ecology comes from a Greek word called oikos plus logos. What do you mean by oikos? Oikos means home or place to live. Where the place where you live is called oikos, right? Logos means study. That is the study of your home or study of your place of living is called as ecology. So the standard definition is relationship of organisms with each other and environment. That is, we are organisms. So how are we related? And how are we related to the environment? If we study that, that is ecology. As simple as that, right? So this study of ecology is not only happened today. This, with respect to India, we have been studying environment and ecology since ancient times. We have been studying ecology since Vedas, since Indus Valley civilization. You will find the concepts of ecology in Charaka Samhita, Sushruta Samhita, everywhere. So even your Bhagavad Gita has lot of concepts on environment and ecology, right? So India is a land where we treat the environment as God or trees as God, right? So that is why we find all our religious scriptures giving lot of respect for environment and nature, right? So this is about the since ancient times we have been revering the nature, right? So this is about ecology. So then we will talk about environment. What is environment? So see, I am here. My surrounding is my environment. As simple as that. So the standard definition is all living and non-living organism, all living and non-living things surrounding an organism is the environment, right? So these living things are called biotic components, non-living things are called abiotic components, right? So I am here, this is my environment. There is interdependency. That is, I am dependent on my environment. I am dependent on this water bottle. I am dependent on this board. So there is interdependency, right? So let's say there is a tree here, right? The tree is in my environment. So I am dependent on oxygen and also food on the tree. The tree is dependent on me because I am going to give it manure. I am going to give it carbon dioxide. There is interdependency. Kodu koduvike sambandha, right? So let us stay. So when it comes to environment, there are two types. One is external environment. External environmentally, there are both biotic and abiotic factors. Let's say I am an organism. My external environment is this classroom. So here you are the biotic components because you are living beings. So and non-living beings. That is the board, the duster, all these things, right? Abiotic components, right? So that is the external environment, and then there is internal environment. Internal environment, that is whatever is there within the boundary of my body is the internal environment. This internal environment is subject to the stress of the external environment. There is any stress. Let's say there is a lack of food, lack of water, the internal environment will be dependent on the external environment. So this is about the environment. Next, we will talk about the organization of ecology. There are 6 levels of organizing the ecology. So what are the 6 levels? The first level is individual level. We are organizing the ecology. In the first level is individual. Individual andre, see, I am an individual, right? You are an individual, right? So this a plant is an individual. Your virus is an individual. Fungi is an individual, right? Insect is an individual. So that is the first level of ecology, individual. So these individuals are independent, right? They largely act independent of the other things, but sometimes they will become dependent for food, for reproduction and other things. Next is the first level is individual, second level is population. Second level is population. What is population? Population means group of organisms. If there is a group of organisms, it is called population. So this populationally, there should be same species. Let's say we are talking about human population. So we are same species. We are same species and we are living in a defined area. See, when you talk about population, that population should be in a particular area in a defined time. When the time only, when they should be in particular area, then only it is called a population and they should belong to same species, right? So next is the concept of growth of population. See, the population can grow or it can diminish. If there is an increasing number of the number of organisms in a particular population, then there is a population growth. If there is a decrease, it is a diminishing of population. So why population will grow? Birth and immigration. If there is more birth or more immigration, population will grow. If there is death and immigration, population will reduce. Right? Okay. Then we have the concept of population density. Population density is number of organisms per unit area. We have discussed it under human density. So this second level is population. The third level is community. So populationally there should be individual species only, but when it comes to community, there can be multiple species. There can be humans, there can be plants, there can be birds, there can be fish, so many things. So in community you have multiple species, plants and animals, and these species are dependent on each other. They are dependent, they are interacting among themselves, right? How they are dependent? Fish is dependent, we are dependent on the fish for food. We are dependent on the plant for food and oxygen, right? So there are a lot of dependency. So this, when it comes to community, community is a very important concept in environment. So how do we name a community? A particular community is given a name based on a dominant species. So when we take up the grassland community andre eno? Where there is lot of grass, only grass is there. So that community is called grassland community because grass is the dominant species. Let's take forest community. So which is the dominant species? The trees are the dominant species, right? So that is the whichever thing is dominant in a particular community, that community is named after that species, right? Okay. Then there are within the community we have multiple types of community. So this community is divided into major community and minor community. So major community, major community the species will be large, right? Tigers, lions, all those things, and they are organized. A proper organization will be there. Tigers, humans, zebras, plants, shrubs, proper organization, and interdependent. Andre, they will be existing independently. Though they consume food, they are actually independent species. So this is the major community. Then you have so this in major community they derive the energy from sun. So all in the environment, if you take the environment, all the species derive their energy from the sun. Even we derive our energy from sun. How? Directly and indirectly. Directly how? If we move in the sunlight, we will derive the energy from sun. Indirectly by the plants. Plants take the sunlight and we consume the plants, right? That is the indirect method of deriving the energy from the sun. So when coming to the major community, so major community, the best example is tropical evergreen forest or even your deciduous forest, because see, it satisfies all the criteria. It satisfies, see, if you take the deciduous forest, this forest is large and this forest is organized properly, there is boundary and it is independent, so it can exist independently. So the tropical evergreen forest or a deciduous forest is a independent community, major community. Then you have minor community. Minor community, there is lot of interdependence. The species here are not independent, they are dependent. So they are dependent on their neighbors. So this minor community is also called as society. Society, we are dependent on each other, alva. We cannot exist individually. So that is why minor community is called as a society, right? They are not independent, rather they are dependent. The best example is lichen on a cow dung. So I'll show you the, why should I show you the cow dung? So lichen, in lichen, see, on cow dung there will be some small insects, right? Insects on the cow dung. Sagni mel ulagaliralvappa. So without, see, this is environment. We have to talk about these things. So that insects are dependent on the cow dung, right? So they cannot, the insects cannot live without the cow dung, right? So that is a minor community. They are independent. Sorry, they are dependent on each other. So then we will talk about the structure of the community. How the community is structured. So the community is divided into number, based on numbers. So how many population is there in a particular community? What is the size of population? How the population is organized, right? In which area they are living, and what is the pattern of population, and how much they are dependent on the environmental factors, that is the pressure, temperature, rainfall, water, moisture, all these things, and also the role played by the organism. What is this? What is the role that a particular, see, suppose I am an organism, what is the role I am playing in a particular ecosystem, right? Or in a particular area. So these all things come under the structure of the community. Next we will talk about the so the community is the third level. The fourth level is ecosystem. So what is a ecosystem? Ecosystem andre, the definition is, it is a structural and functional unit of a biosphere. The definition of ecosystem is, it is a structural unit, it is a functional unit. Andre biosphere, let's say there is a big biosphere, right? So there is one ecosystem. So this forms a structure. In this biosphere there is one structure called ecosystem, and it is functional. Functional andre, it is living. There are lot of interaction taking place. So the definition of ecosystem is, it is a structural and functional unit of biosphere. So it includes, this ecosystem includes lot of communities. So ecosystem olage there will be lot of communities. If this is ecosystem, there is lot of communities within that. It includes communities, and these community will interact with the environment and exchange material. So this community, trees, this community will be interacting. Let's say there is a community of humans. So they will be interacting with the environment and exchange material. We take the material from the trees and all those things, timber, all those things. So there is exchange of material. So this is about the ecosystem. So ecosystem is interdependent. See, community can be dependent or interdependent, whereas ecosystem is always interdependent. So andre ecosystem ಒಳಗೆ what are the components will be there? No, trees, plants, animals, all these things, they are dependent on each other. They cannot exist independently. So that is why within ecosystem, if one part is getting damaged, all the parts will get damaged. The best example is your pollution. So one area gets polluted, it will hamper all other areas. All the beings, living beings will be affected by it, right? So healthy ecosystem alli there should be a balance between living beings, non-living beings. Among the living beings there should be a balance, among the non-living beings there should be a balance. So totally there should be a balance. So humans alli actually there is no balance. So we see which other species has so much population as humans? 750 crore. No other species is as big as humans. So there is imbalance, right? So there is lot of imbalance. So ecosystem example, ecosystem, see, there might be a small tree. This tree could be called an ecosystem, or an entire forest like an Amazon forest. That entire forest could be called as a ecosystem. So the ecosystem can vary from as small as a tree to as big as a forest, right? Okay. So with respect to ecosystem, there are multiple components. What are the components? These components of the ecosystem, it can be divided into two things. One is abiotic component, then other is biotic component. What is abiotic components? So energy, rainfall, temperature, atmosphere, all these things are abiotic components. We will look into each one of them. So abiotic components, what is the definition? See, these abiotic components are inorganic. Living beings are organic. Abiotic components. Rock, is rock an organic component? No, it is an inorganic component, right? So the first abiotic component is energy. So where do we get the energy from? We get it from sun. So animals cannot directly use the sun's energy, so we use it directly via consuming the plants, right? The second abiotic component is the rainfall, right? So rainfall, it is a non-living thing. So this abiotic component, there because of rainfall, you will get water. In water leads to a lot of biochemical reactions. Biochemical reactions andre, so bio means life, chemical means reaction. So you consume the water will get converted into so many things, right? So water is needed for both plants, animals. So it leads to lot of reactions, right? So rainfall, this is the second abiotic component. The third abiotic component is temperature. So temperature mele, see, you based on temperature you will find different types of organisms living. You find polar bear living in cold temperature, and you will find camel living in hot desert temperature, right? So based on temperature, living beings change, right? The fourth abiotic component is atmosphere. You know what is atmosphere, I need not explain that. The fifth abiotic component is substratum. What is substratum? So it is soil. Soil is called the substratum. But not only soil, the soil which includes microbes, microbes, living things, fungi, and also plants, roots of plants, water, nutrients. If the soil includes all these things, it is called as a what? It is called as a substratum. So there are two types of substratum. One is terrestrial substratum, other is aquatic substratum. Soil in the on the land is terrestrial substratum. Soil in the ocean or aquatic ecosystem is the aquatic substratum, right? So that is one thing. Then you have latitude and altitude. Latitude, altitude are also inorganic components, because see, with increasing in latitude, as you go towards the polar, there is cold climate. As you come towards the equator, there is warm climate. Latitude also impacts the what? Latitude also impacts the ecosystem, right? So not only that, organic and inorganic components, they are also abiotic factors, organic compounds and inorganic. Organic andre, which includes carbon and hydrogen. Organic, as simple as that, right? Okay. So next we will talk about the biotic components. Biotic components, those which has life. Those components, idರಲ್ಲಿ ಯಾವ್ದ್ರಲ್ಲಿ life ಇರುತ್ತೆ, that is called as biotic components. So when it comes to biotic components, yeah, when it comes to biotic component, the first concept is primary producers. What are primary producers? Which produce their own food. What are they called? Autotrophs, which produce their own food. So they are self-nourishing. Andre their energy na avare produce ಮಾಡ್ಕೊಂತವೆ. So what are they? They are green plants. Green plants, they synthesize the carbohydrates. See, how do we humans get carbohydrates? By consuming food. Carbs anta karitaralla. So we get it by consuming food, but plants get the carbohydrates by what? Photosynthesis. So what is the combination? By the mix of carbon dioxide, water and sunlight. By mixing of these three things, this plants produce their own carbohydrates, right? So with respect to primary producers, on the land we have terrestrial we have plants as the primary producers, autotrophs. Aquatic ecosystem, which are the producers? Algae are the primary producers in the aquatic ecosystem. Plants conduct photosynthesis on the land. Algae conduct it under water, right? They are the primary producers. Next, we will talk about consumers. Consumers alli, there are two types of consumers: heterotrophs or phagotrophs. Heterotrophs are also called phagotrophs. So consumers alli, these consumers, heterotrophs, they are dependent on plants. They eat plants to survive. So there are multiple types of consumers. The first type of consumer is macro consumer. So what are the macro consumers? Plants and animals. So plants and animals, macro consumers. Macro consumers andre the animals basically are macro consumers. They consume what? They consume plants and animals. So the first consumer is herbivorous. So herbivorous, what do they eat? They eat plants. Herbivorous are those consumers which eat plants. The second level of consumer is what? Secondary consumer. They are carnivorous. The best example is wolves, right? The tertiary consumer is the second level carnivorous. Tertiary. So you have primary producers, which are plants. Then you have heterotrophs. These are autotrophs. Then you have heterotrophs, under which you have consumers level 1, which are heterotrophs. Then you have carnivorous. So here you have herbivorous. Then you have carnivorous. They are primary consumer. Then secondary consumer, secondary level carnivorous. That is your tiger, lion, all those things. Tiger, lion, all those things, right? So they are tertiary consumers. Then you have, this is secondary, because see, this is primary consumer, this is secondary. So this is secondary consumer and this is tertiary consumer, that is tiger, all those things. Then you have one more component, quaternary consumer. Quaternary consumer, yaru, all your eagles, vultures, which eat the dead tigers and lions. Those are the quaternary consumers. Then you have one more macro consumer. There are one more component called omnivorous. What is omnivorous? Omnivore, which eats both plants and animals. Best example, humans and monkey. Monkeys also eat both plants and animals, right? So then we will talk about, so macro consumer, these are the areas. Then you have micro consumers. Micro consumers, who are they? Saprotopes. Saprotopes, decomposers, right? So bacteria and fungi, the best example. They decompose. Decompose, and they will that is decomposition. So decomposition, on what do they decompose? Dead organic matter. Dead animals and plants, they are going to decompose. So what do they decompose it to? See, organic matter. Organic matter is getting decomposed. So if there is a organic matter, it will get decomposed into inorganic matter, right? Organic matter gets decomposed into inorganic matter. Okay. So the best example is earthworm. Earthworm, it's a detritus feeder. Andre, these dead organisms, they are going to consume. That is why it is called a detrivore. It's a detrivore. Eats the dead organic substances, earthworms, all those things, right? So ecosystem, when we are talking about ecosystem, you can classify the ecosystem into two things. One is terrestrial ecosystem, another is aquatic ecosystem, right? So ecosystem alli there is a concept called equilibrium. So equilibrium andre, there should be a balance. There should be a balance. That balance is called, if there is a balance in ecosystem, it is called homeostasis. Homeostasis. So the best example is your pressure distribution. So ecosystem equilibrium alli, ecosystem is generally self-regulatory. Andre, let's say there is a area where there is high pressure and there is another area within the ecosystem where there is low pressure. So it self-regulates. Andre, high pressure in the low pressure ge balance madutte. So that is why it is called homeostasis. Also, other area dalli temperature ಜಾಸ್ತಿ ಇದೆ, other area temperature is less. So from that area wind blows to hot area. So there is balance. So homeostasis takes place, right? So what are the goods and services given by ecosystem? All your plants, agriculture, the clothes you wear, your furniture, right? Your oxygen, water, your timber is done, all your resources, everything, minerals, everything is given by the ecosystem, right? So ecosystem is very, very important. Next, we will talk about this concept called ecotone. What is ecotone? Junction between two or more diverse ecosystem. Let's say, see, here you have desert ecosystem and here you have, this is desert and this is, let's say, tropical forest. Tropical forest. So the junction, the middle point is called the ecotone. Junction between two or more diverse ecosystem is called as ecotone. The best example is mangrove forest. See, mangrove forest ali, it has the characteristics of both ocean, because mangrove goes both on land and sea. So it has the characteristics of the ocean, also it has the characteristics of the land, right? So that is the best example, marine and terrestrial. So what are the characteristics of the ecotone? So ecotone is narrow. It can be narrow or sometimes it can be wide. Andre, it can be small also, it can be big also. The junction can be small or big, right? It has a it has intermediate condition. Andre, let's say, see, desert characteristics no il nav nodbodu and ಇಲ್ಲಿನ ಕ್ಯಾರೆಕ್ಟರಿಸ್ಟಿಕ್ಸ್ ನಾವು ನೋಡಬಹುದು, ಇಲ್ಲಿನ ಕ್ಯಾರೆಕ್ಟರಿಸ್ಟಿಕ್ಸ್ we can see, right? So it has characteristics of both desert and tropical evergreen forest, right? So that is why it is a intermediate, it has intermediate condition of both the ecosystems, right? That is why it is called a zone of tension. Zone of tension andre illin characteristics clash ಆಗ್ತಾ ಇರುತ್ತೆ. So it is a zone of tension, right? So here the changes take place linearly. Let's say illi you will find in desert, what is the animal you find? Camel. So as we move away from the desert ecosystem, we will see reduction of camels, right? But illi, let's say you are finding in tropical, you will find, let's say, snakes are more, right? Tropical, you not only snakes, you have, let's say, deers are there. So you will, as soon as you move closer towards the tropical ecosystem, you will find more and more deers, right? So the changes take place linearly, right? Next you have in ecotone. Ecotone alli there is a large number of animals. See, let's say illa 50 animal idde, illa 50 animal idre, here you will find, let's say, 75 animals. Why more animals? Because of edge effect. See, this area has both the components of this and this sala. So animals will find this place good because both the characteristics are there. That is why you will find more number of species. So that characteristics of the ecotone is called edge effect. More number of species in the junction is called edge effect. So the species in the edge, ಇದು edge ಅಲ್ವಾ, ಇದಕ್ಕೂ this is a edge. So that is called a edge effect. The species in the edge are called edge species. Example are birds. See, birds, let's say there are birds in the desert, they will find good food here. Let's say there are some other birds here, they will find different kind of food here, right? So birds are the edge species. You find more number of birds in the ecotone region. Then you have one more category, one more concept called niche. Ecological niche. What is niche? It's the definition of a niche is functional role played by a species in a ecosystem. So what is the place of a species in a ecosystem? Let's say this institute, the VHS, let's say VHS organization is there and I am one of the component of VHS. So what is my function in the VHS? What is my role in the VHS? That is called as niche, right? That is what is the place of an organism, right? So functional role played by a species in a ecosystem. Andre, let's say there is a tiger. So what is the role played by the tiger in a ecosystem? It maintains all other species. So no, it doesn't allow, let's say if tiger illa andre, what happens? Number of deers will increase, right? And there will be shortage of grass. So tiger will balance the number of deers, right? So that is the functional role played by the species in a ecosystem. That is a tiger. So then what is the characteristics of niche andre? All the factors that needed to survive. If see, tiger is there. So what are the factors that a tiger need to survive? That is also called as a niche. Andre, tiger needs food, tiger needs habitat, it needs good temperature, right? It needs sufficient space, right? All these are the requirements of tiger. So that is also called as niche. The first definition is functional role played by an organism is called niche. Second is all the factors needed by an organism is also called as niche. So ಈಗ tiger ಗೆ I told you 4-5 components are needed. So if you want to protect the tiger, you should direct a tiger na protect ಮಾಡದಲ್ಲ. You have to protect these 5 factors which I told, on which tiger is dependent. So if you protect these 5 factors, that is area and also optimum temperature, optimum food, all these things if you protect, tiger will automatically get protected. That is why niche is very, very important in protection of the species. So one peculiar character of the niche alli, no two niche or no two species have a same niche. Andre, let's say there is a deer, there is a lion. So the niche of the deer or a bear is different from niche of a lion. And then the requirements of lion is different from requirements of bear. So the niche of both these organisms is different. See, this ecotone niche are very, very important. Direct questions in your exam, right? So this niche is very important for conservation, because if you protect the niche, automatically the species get protected, right? So what are the types of niche? So you have habitat niche. Habitat niche andre, so what the place where the animal lives is the habitat niche. Then food niche. Food niche andre, what is the food a particular organism needs, that is a food niche. Reproductive niche, what are the conditions required for an animal to reproduce, that is the reproductive niche. Then you have physical and chemical niche. What do you mean by physical and chemical niche? It means what are the physical conditions, temperature, pressure, that is needed for an organism to survive. Then you have chemical niche. Chemical niche, what are the chemical components that are needed for the organism, what are the chemical reactions that should take place for an organism to survive, that is a chemical niche. So these are the various types of niches, right? Then we will move to next concept, the higher level of ecosystem. It is called biome. Biome. So what is a biome? So biome andre, see, you have biosphere. What is biosphere? So you have, let's say, atmosphere, lithosphere and hydrosphere. The junction of all these three areas, elli atmosphere ide, lithosphere ide, hydrosphere ide, that is land, that is the biosphere, right? So in the biosphere, you have terrestrial part, andre land part. That land part can be divided into biomes. The terrestrial part of a biosphere can be divided into biomes, right? So on what factors are the biosphere is divided into biomes? Based on climate and vegetation. Climate, vegetation, soil and animal life. Based on what animals are there, what soil is there, what vegetation is there, what climate is there. Based on that, the biomes are divided. So no two biomes are alike. If there are two biomes, no two biomes can be similar, right? So what is the factor which divides the biomes? It is the climate. Climate acts as a dividing boundary between the biomes, right? Climate and the temperature and precipitation. So in aquatic zones only you don't find biomes. Biomes are only found on land, right? So aquatic zones, no biomes, but distinct life zones. Andre, you can divide the aquatic zone not on biomes, but distinct life zone. Andre, let's say this is aquatic ecosystem, there are distinct life zone. So E level alli species ide, what is the temperature and pressure? ಸ್ವಲ್ಪ deep ಆಗಿ ಹೋದ್ರೆ, what is the temperature and pressure here? What are the species here? Right? If you go deeper, what are the, so benthos, atara eneno barutte. So that is the what? Distinct life zone. Life zone 1, life zone 2, life zone 3 andre distinct life zone. What are the temperature, pressure, various conditions, and what are the species? So that is the aquatic division of the aquatic zones into the division of the aquatic ecosystem into distinct life zones, right? So when it comes to biome, I think I should show you a diagram. Where is that diagram? So biome, see, biome distribution based on temperature and precipitation, that is temperature and precipitation, the climate. So you have from dry warmness to coldness, from dryness to wetness. Biome is distributed. So warm and dry, you will find warm desert. Warm desert is here. So little bit wet, you will find tropical grassland. Some more wet, you will find savanna. Some more little more wet, you will find tropical deciduous forest. Some more wet, the wettest one, tropical rainforest. This is the division of biome, right, based on climate. Higher level, little more colder. So you will find drier region, you will find cold desert. Then you have prairies, grasslands. Then you have temperate deciduous forest. Temperate deciduous forest is the third level, right? Next you have a little more coldness, you find boreal forest. Little more coldness, you will find the boreal forest. Some more coldness, you will find the tundra region. You are going to find the tundra region if it is little more cold. Then the coldest part, you will find the polar region, right? Polar region is the coldest part. Clear? So this is the distribution of biome. Yeah. So name of the biome, tundra region. Where is tundra region? Northern and southern poles. Alva. So what is the flora and fauna? Tundra regionally, you don't find any trees. There are very less trees, and there will be mosses, lichen and sedges. So these are the types of things you find. You will find reindeer, Arctic fox, polar bear. So these are the animals you are going to find in the tundra biome. Then taiga biome. Taiga biome ellelide, northern Europe, that is just little bit down from the polar biome or the tundra biome. Taiga dali northern Asia, northern Europe, northern America, all these areas. So this taiga is also known as boreal forest. Very important. Boreal andre taiga, taiga is boreal. So vegetation, what is the vegetation? You will find coniferous trees, right? Pine, firs, fauna yadide, fur bearing, carnivorous, mink, elk, puma, Siberian tiger, wolverine, wolves, all these things. Then you have temperate deciduous forest, temperate regionally deciduous forest. So these are the regions, major regions: Eastern Northern America, Western China, Japan, all these areas. So illi beech, oak, maple are the trees. Animals yadu, vertebrates, all types of animals are there here. Tropical rainforest. Tropical rainforest you have in the equatorial region. You know where is the region? So illi 40% of the world's plants and animal species are there. 40% of the species are there. So here there you find multiple story of broad-leaved evergreen trees. Evergreen trees you will find in this region. Okay. So then you have savanna. Where do you find? In Africa, grassland, savanna grass. So it is also type of grassland. Savanna is mix of grassland and desert, right? So savanna how does it look? I'll show you in the. So there will be a big grassland in between. You will find in between the grassland you will find some 1 or 2 trees. So that is savanna grassland. Let the net low. Okay. See, this is a savanna biome. There will be lot of grasses. Somewhere you will find some 1 or 2 trees like this. This is savanna. Okay. So here you find the animals, antelopes, all types of animals you will find here. Grassland you have North America, that is prairies. So with low rainfall. So grasses dominate, grasses irutte, antelope, cattle, these are the animals, prairie dog. So desert ellide continental interiors. Inside the continents you will find where there is very low rainfall and there is low humidity. Here the flora is drought resistant. Andre the trees are drought resistant. Fauna, reptiles, mammals and birds, camels, all these things you will find here. This is the biome. These are the types of biome. Then we will look at the aquatic ecosystem. So aquatic, I told you, it is divided into distinct life zone. So what are the distinct? So you will find freshwater ecosystem. Freshwater andre which is drinkable, right? So it is classified. Freshwater is classified into lotic. Lotic andre moving water and lentic. See this term you have to remember. Lotic and lentic. Directly they will ask in exam. Lotic andre water which is moving. Lentic andre where there is stagnant water. Lotic you find freshwater streams, springs, rivulets, all these things. That is moving water. Lentic water system, ponds, lakes, all these areas, right? Okay. Then you have marine ecosystem, that is salt water, right? Nearly 3/4, 70% of the earth's surface, right, is covered by ocean, right? Salinity is, average salinity is 330. Estuary andre, I have told you what is estuary. So where river meets the oceans, right? Coastal bays, river mouths and tidal marshes from the estuaries. So freshwater from rivers meet the ocean, or these are the mixed by action of trade. Highly productive, they are the highly productive regions. Then you have coral reefs and you have mangroves. We will discuss later what is a coral reef, what is a mangrove. So this is with respect to the biomes. Okay. Various types of biomes. Okay. So then we will talk about biosphere. So biosphere and where there is a mixing of those three things I told you in the diagram. So that is biosphere. So where biosphere is where the life exists. Life is existing only in the biosphere. It is a narrow layer. Biosphere is a very narrow layer, right? So in this biosphere, narrow layer andre, what do you mean by narrow layer? It is not wide. See, these are very wide. Whereas see, biosphere, it is an intermediate, it is a very small layer. So this biosphere exists from minus 200 meter below sea level, minus 200 meter below sea level up to 6,000 meter above sea level. That is the boundary of the biosphere. So this biosphere is absent in North Pole and South Pole. You won't find the biosphere in North and South Pole, but because there is no animals there, not many animals, North Pole and South Pole, and also high mountains like Everest and all, and also deepest trenches, that is the Mariana Trench, all those there, you won't find any animals. So this biosphere is, there is no uniform distribution. So where does, it is not equally distributed across the world. Where does the biosphere gets its energy from? Biosphere gets its energy from the sun, like other things. Nutrients elinda barutte, air, water and soil. Air, water and soil inda they will get the nutrients, right? So, okay. So this is about the ecology concepts. Tomorrow we will take up the functions of ecosystem. What are the functions played by the ecosystem? So tomorrow we will look into the food chain, food web, energy pyramids, and also pyramid of numbers, pyramid of biomass. All these things, those are very important concepts for your exams, right? If you have any doubt, please do let us know in the comment section, or you can contact us on our Telegram channel, VHS Education Forum. Please make good use of the classes, both veterans and freshers, and please give us feedback about the classes, how we can improvise. And if you have any doubts, you can always contact us. Please take good care of your health. We will meet tomorrow. Jai Hind. Namaste.